Witzman of McCordsville that I am that guy.
I really appreciate that.
All right, guys, it's 4:30. I'll call this Public Works meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Justin Meadows.
Here.
Tim Gropp.
Here.
Scott Jones.
Here.
Nick Brown. Eric Pullum.
Here.
Everybody have a chance to review the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Did you say he had to abstain?
Correct. Yeah, so that passes 3-0. Okay. Applications and invoices?
There was one on there. It got pulled off. Okay.
Okay. Town engineer report.
It is posted. I did have a couple things that I wanted to just highlight worthy of some public discussion. First off, I wanted to give an update on the 600 North and 600 West roundabout. There's some public notices that have been going out here last week and this week, giving the detour route and the general timeline for when that's going to start. The initial post from the contractor was that it was going to start on or after the July 7th, I believe that's the date that they said. I did get an update from that. Right now, basically, there's some utility coordination that's going on, and so they're watching Nine Stars doing their work trying to clear. I don't know if you've noticed that as you've driven by the intersection. They've been working in the area here in the last week or so, and that may delay the start a few days or a week for Nine Star to get out of the way. And I'm saying may since it's a little out of our control on that. So just FYI, it's going to be, when they post the signs, it's on or after. That doesn't mean it's going to start on July 7th. It's just going to be sometime shortly after that. They're going to start working on the east side of the roundabout. So the detour route that's been posted is obviously includes detours on both sides, but the 600 West will remain open the entire duration of the project. It's just 600 North that's going to have closures on it, and they're going to close the east side to start with, and then work on that side. They'll have some temporary asphalt that they'll put in place. It's some of the first steps to get the lane shift in place, and then they'll work on the east side of the roundabout, and once that's complete, they'll then flip over and change the maintenance of traffic, shift it over to the new asphalt that they have installed, and then they'll work on the west side of the roundabout. So we have a schedule that the contractor shared, and of course it's I will say that it's a schedule, and it will likely slide as the work progresses. But right now they had tentatively, if it starts on July 7th, they would be working on the east side through the end of August and a little bit into September. So before they did the flip.
That's so long.
Yeah.
Like, why is this? That seems to be a really long time for half a roundabout.
I don't know what to tell you, Tim. I'm not the one
I mean,
controlling.
it used to be rule of thumb, you could keep a road open and build one in 90 days. And that's like 60 plus days for half.
Yeah.
Seems like a real long lead time.
The timeline I think we had for it, the project finish is November. So that's the dates that we've got for this. So if you want Reith Riley's number and Cityscape, I'm happy to share that with you.
It
You want
just
to call
seems
and
like
complain.
a really, really long build period.
I have not set in on these meetings yet, but they're going to have regular meetings for the progress of this. And once those start, I will be attending those, so I'll get updates on where we stand on it. But we'll post public updates as we go. The second, well, first off, is there any questions about that? Okay. Second project I want to update on is the 800 North project. We had a initial phase of that project, which was just going to be drainage improvements along the roadway. That design reached kind of a point sufficient where we could start going through the right-of-way acquisition phase. And the initial meetings, we only have 5 property owners that we're having for this. Let me pull up the... This is the area right here, and let me go back onto this. So this is the entire stretch, and we're only looking at just this is the initial phase. This is kind of the worst drainage issues down here. Basically, there's not a lot of roadside drainage, so the ground gets saturated with water along the sides, and it causes issues with the road. We've had meetings with 4 of the 5 property owners, which is the only one we didn't meet with is the church, which sits here at this corner. We met with Hearts and Vale and these 2 residential homes right here. We got some pretty strongly negative feedback from the property owners. That's going to be a pretty big blow here to the project. We started off with our initial ask, which was just following along the thoroughfare plan for the right-of-way. We had a couple deviations from that, just where engineering kind of required us to work around certain issues, like the home right here is too close to the road to do the normal right-of-way width. And so the ditch, we kind of piped through that section and reduced the right-of-way down to 30 feet across there from the center line of the road. So, but the general message we got from this is that all the residents that we've talked to there, the 4 property owners, they all didn't want to see improvements to the road. They didn't want to see, they didn't want to give up right-of-way. Matter of fact, we had, oddly enough, somebody suggest they'd be perfectly fine if it went to gravel. So it was fairly extreme. So that is pretty hefty blow to the project as far as moving forward without right-of-way there. It's really can't move forward with the project. So the only option, I think, for the town is to either not do the project or to discuss eminent domain. Those are really the only 2 options. We can reduce right-of-way down, but based on the discussions we had with residents, I don't know that we can reduce it down enough to make any of them willing to sell. So
We've made it clear in those meetings, though, that we're not going to keep investing in this road if you're not willing to make the improvements. If we don't fix the drainage, there's no sense to us keep spending money to repave the road, because it's just going to keep collapsing and we're wasting taxpayer dollars. So you're either going to have a really patchy, bumpy road, or you can work with it. Now, there's probably, to Mark's point, we can probably re-engineer this to reduce that right-of-way ask and make it a little
more palatable
to everybody. Yeah. But there's the majority owners there just simply said no. So we took it out of the capital project budget for now. We're going to put a little bit back in and try to acquire property of willing people for the future. At some point, there'll be development in this area and it'll change over and we'll need to do this project, but there's no sense investing heavy dollars in this for a project they don't want, but they have to realize the flip side to that is your road has a drainage problem, and if you don't fix it, it's just gonna keep deteriorating. Going to a gravel road's not an option. We're a municipality. Like, this isn't rural Hancock County anymore. But we also, I don't believe we have a council that would want to do eminent domain for a project like this. So the answer is shelve it for now.
Yeah, where we left this project, at least, we've paid for engineering up to this point, and we've got appraisals that are in process, so we're going to let those complete and let them make offers to the residents and basically let them decline or provide feedback. We'll see what we get back from them. This was intended to be the initial phase of this project, which would include just this portion right here. We had a second and third phase looking at drainage along the remainder of the stretch. And then we would follow up once we had that done, cleared right of way from utilities. We'd be then looking to reconstruct the entire mile stretch, and we were planning on doing that, trying to do that with a community crossings grant before the end of this decade, so that we could take advantage of our 75-25 match. Once we hit a new census, that will kick us to a 50-50 match. So it makes it a less palatable project at that point. So
this does obviously, or likely means that if and when we ever do the project in the future, if we ever get willing sellers, we'll be paying more for it because it will be assessed at 50-50.
Unless development happens along here and some of it gets done through future development. So if Vail starts selling land and developers come in, some of this would be done for us, would be the only saving grace there. The only caveat to it as well is whether we do the whole project or not, we're going to have to address the ditch across the street. So we probably are going to tuck money into the capital project budget for next year. And I know there's already some engineering done. There's a history to that, but we can't not address across the street. That's an issue, and that part of the road could potentially someday collapse into the ditch, and we can't have that. So.
Part of the issue with this too is just the acquisition of right-of-way along the mile stretches. Dan Vail owns a large portion of it. He owns this parcel, and then this is Vail family. Donis owns one, or they both own, I'm not positive. And then he owns, and then this stretch, and also these properties as well. So Dan Vail is going to have a huge influence over any future phase as well, because he owns a large portion of the remainder of property along the Vail Road. So So that's all I wanted to do, is provide an update with that. It's obviously bad news for looking at longevity for Vail Road and what we can do with it. But I wanted to provide an update to Public Works and let you know where that project stands. Everything else in the report is posted, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.
You can update your road impact fee. We're past the 6-month waiting period.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we haven't collected any road impact fees yet, but we're in the process where we could.
All right. I don't think we have any old business. New business. A&F additional scope contract.
Anybody?
Oh, yeah, sorry. this one's just an update. We debated whether or not to put this on the agenda. There's a scope change that we've been discussing with A&F for the widening project, the big project through the center of town. We don't have all the pieces yet in place for this, but I was anxious to want to make sure that this continues rolling. Right now, we're going through the right-of-way process for that, and they wanted to do some additional survey and staking associated with that. We don't have the exact amount. We only have a portion of it, which was 12,000 and change, yeah. So it was more than one individual department head could sign off on. So we kind of looked at that and said, hey, let's update Public Works on it, let you know that that's coming. Some of the communications we have on this indicate that the money is actually just a shifting around internally so it may end up being a no net cost to the town. But like I said, we don't have all the pieces yet. We wanted to get at least a indication from Public Works. We're kind of following our change order policy. It's an existing contract and it's a modification to that. So we are supposed to report back to Public Works for this. Sometimes we can do that, or sometimes it's necessary to do that kind of after the fact. In this case, we want to do it. We have the information, at least partially, so we wanted to inform Public Works ahead of this so we could get just a tentative thumbs up that we're okay moving forward with that. Once we get that contract amendment back, we'll finalize it. If any of the details are incorrect that I've shared, we'll of course update and bring back to Public Works.
So do you need any action today?
Yeah, it's hard to ask you to vote on something when we don't have any details for that. I guess I would just ask the board if you have any concerns with what I've said, let us know, and otherwise staff will continue on.
None for me.
Seems
Good down there?
Yep.
Okay. 900 north, 600 west stoplight upgrade.
This is to replace the pucks in the ground on the asphalt. That changes the lights if you're in a turn lane or a straight lane. We found these pucks are unreliable and we have to replace them all the time. So
That's the sensor that basically indicates when you have an extended turn light or turn motion for one of the signals. So there's 3 different methods of doing this traditionally. There's these pucks which are essentially they're wireless. They get set into the asphalt. You can do the more traditional loops, which are wires that are embedded into the asphalt, and then the method that we're talking about here is cameras. So the nice thing about that is both the pucks and the loops have drawbacks that they can be damaged. The cameras can be damaged too, and you have issues with them too, but they have been kind of endorsed as more reliable by our contractor that maintains these. We're also doing that same system on the Brookside Emerald Springs signal. Will also be the cameras.
We've replaced these before. We've had issues with these pucks over the years, and they failed again. So
Yeah, the big issue with those when they happen is usually one of the pucks goes out, like say on a left turn lane, and what ends up happening, it irritates drivers because you could have a lane that's clear of traffic, but it does an extended turn movement for the signal because it doesn't register whether there's traffic there or not, so it assumes that there is. So the signal sits for a long time. It annoys drivers pretty strongly. Matter of fact, Larry Longman
It
would
came to our
call us
attention because of Larry.
regularly will complain about it.
Yep. He brought it up in the RDC meeting a couple months ago.
So are you guys replacing the whole traffic light or just the signals inside of it?
There's it goes a little bit. There's controls in the cabinet that are modified because the inputs that are coming in from the pucks, that doesn't happen anymore. And then they have to mount the cameras on and run the lines back down into the control cabinet. So there's no buried work, if
No,
I'm correct, on it. It's just all pole mounted or the strain wire mounted.
And if we're doing, this would be a recommendation to council, and we put it on consent for council. Motion to approve Signal Construction's quote for 900 and 600 West stoplight upgrade.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-0.
Thank you.
American Pump and Repair quote.
This is another phase for the lift station to replace piping going down to the pumps and elbows. This is for 2 of the pumps. We have 3 pumps in that lift station. I think last month you approved the cabinet. Then the month before we approved 1 pump. But we're doing this in a phase because this is a pretty big lift station. We can't shut it down and do it all at once. So this is for 2 replacements.
And this just comes out of the sewer budget, sewer
Yes.
operating.
Yes.
So it's just because it's over $10,000, it needs approval. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-0.
Thank you.
So, okay, South Railroad Street ROW appraisal contracts.
So we've done the preliminary engineering, and we have the exhibits for the right-of-way that we need to basically widen South Railroad Street around the curb up to not all the way to Culver's, right?
No, it doesn't go all the way to Culver's.
Okay,
As
that's,
a
I
matter of
didn't
fact,
say that wrong.
Yeah, we've got it, it's shown right now, actually, it goes up to Culver's, but it will get cut back with, assuming the Starbucks moves forward. But the right-of-way and there's right-of-way pieces and then 1 drainage easement that's included.
The intent is to get appraisals and acquire a right-of-way here by August, September, so then we can do some of the utility work this fall, and then we can be ready to pave it in the spring of 2026. So these are the 2 right-of-way appraisal contracts. Again, they're over, we just move forward typically, but they're, because there's so many right-of-way parcels, it's over our $10,000 limit, so.
So are both of these companies doing appraisals?
Yeah, you have average 2 appraisals, so.
Oh, okay. So we're just picking which one we want to.
We're doing both. Valbridge and Equival.
I guess technically we've already moved forward with these as well.
Yeah.
So this is like us retroactively asking you to bless this action.
These are the ones I typically use for the RDC as well, so they
Yeah,
know they
that's
do good work. They're more of a commercial appraiser than a residential.
So you just need a motion to approve?
Yep.
Alright. I'll make a motion to approve these.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Any public comments? Oh, you guys.
I had a question for Mark. We open bids tomorrow, don't we?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I meant to provide an update for that as well. We've got a bid out for the signal I mentioned at the Brookside in Emerald Springs. Just because of advertising snafu, it advertised on a Wednesday, and so timing-wise, I had to move the bid opening instead of opening at Public Works to open it on tomorrow.
What time is that?
4 o'clock. So it'll open in this room tomorrow at 4 o'clock. What's that? Oh, crap. I think I didn't realize I did that. Hopefully I'm back by 4 o'clock. If not, I'll have Ron open them.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Happy to be your schedule keeper.
Thank you.
Public comments? Okay. Our next meeting will be August 5th. We are adjourned.
Awesome.